김미경의 Reboot Challenge Day 35 Page 155. When I asked Ziyun to write her 10-line synopsis, she wrote, "Even in a changed world, paper books will survive. I would like to distribute quality books to more readers in the wider world and enjoy the greater sense of reward. K-books can join the parade of the Korean wave that is marching around the world and stand side by side with K-pops and K-dramas. At a time when Korea is grabbing the attention of the world with its successful control of the spread of coronavirus, I want to take this as an opportunity to become someone who distributes Korean-made quality content products to the entire world. To make this happen, I should improve my foreign language and digital skills. One of the misguided ideas that people have is the inspiration comes suddenly like a flash of lightning. That's not true. Inspiration happens when you see something unfamiliar come upon new information, meet someone who works in a different field, or become aware of something that you've never paid attention to before. A clash with something unfamiliar creates a crack in your existing ideas, and out of that crack sprouts a new idea. That's what happened to Ziyun. She had already written her synopsis, but when she read an article about Bill Gates that said he had commended Korea's measures against the spread of coronavirus and had contributed a large sum of money to a Korean company, she came up with the idea of a K-book that might take over the world like K-pop and K-drama. Some might say that the idea is ridiculous. They might shake their heads, pointing out that there have been many similar attempts, but none of them has succeeded. Yet, all those numerous inventions that changed the human civilization started with someone's crazy imagination. To be honest, when my employees were talking about webtoons, I thought that they should spend their time reading books instead. I couldn't figure out why they were so focused on childish cartoons. But my idea about webtoons was shattered when I saw an article about cartoonist who presented a controversial claim. It was then proven by research and defined by a scientist. I learned that cartoons are one step ahead of our time. The ingenuity that breaks through the boundary of impossibility without being restricted to complicated theories and calculation, and daring courage that expands the range of human thoughts beyond space into another world, as in sci-fi movies, that the kind of imagination that we find in webtoons. It is also the kind of imagination that we must have now, when we are living in a time when we cannot predict what will happen next week or next month. When imagining something new, it is also necessary to let your brain go as wild as it can. It's okay to be outrageous. Let the imagination go as far as it wants, even if it pops like a bubble in the next stage. If you fear failure, even in your imagination, you cannot start anything. A good synopsis is the kind that gets people to say, "No way." But if your friend tells you, "I think it's a good idea, give it a try," then chances are your synopsis is not strong enough. At a time when everything is changing by the hour and the minute, an outrageous vision of your future may have a higher probability of actually happening than a more tame, reasonable one. Perfect your synopsis by applying the reboot formulas. When you have finished writing a 10-line synopsis, it's time for one of the most important steps. You must review this synopsis in light of the 4 post-coronavirus reboot formulas: on tech, digital transformation, independent worker, and safety. You may have the greatest plan ever, but if it fails to fit into the new world, it is nothing but a pie-in-the-sky dream. The synopsis is only an outcome of your imagination, and if you want to bring it to life and become your solution, you must clear it through the 4 reboot formulas. In the case of Ziyun, she sent me another synopsis just a few days later. It was about the business model she was thinking of using when she starts her own business, and she wanted me to review it and see if it met the requirements of the 4 reboot formulas. Ziyun's new synopsis read, "In the near future, I will be running a publishing agency that sells to domestic and overseas publishers the rights to manuscripts written by Korean authors. Competent writers will receive support from this agency at every step of the way, from coming up with an idea to actually writing the manuscript. My main duty will be to communicate with the domestic and foreign publishers and sell to them the publishing rights of those manuscripts. I will get added value when publishers compete with one another for the rights to sell in their respective languages, allowing me to get the highest possible offers. While writers are completing their manuscripts, they will be told at what price their manuscripts were sold. I will expand the publishing market for K-books by expanding into K-pop and K-drama. Of course, I could have racked my brain to find solutions for her, but I don't know anything about the publishing industry. Besides, I have always believed that when it comes to your own problems, you only get useful answers when you solve those problems yourself. So the next day, I called Ziyun into my office, and together we reviewed her synopsis, running it through the 4 formulas. I asked questions, and she answered them. What do you think the answer would be if you applied the on-tag formula to your publishing agency business model? I asked.